This is the image they said we would never see. For a decade, Donald Trump has been the Teflon Don. Impeachments bounced off him. Indictments boosted his poll numbers. Civil judgments were delayed, appealed, and bonded away. He seemed to live in a reality where consequences were for other people. But this morning, Saturday, January 24th, 2026, the Teflon just melted. Breaking news out of New York City has plunged the American presidency into absolute chaos. A New York State Supreme Court justice has just issued an order for the immediate execution of judgment against the Trump Organization. This isn't a threat. This isn't a warning. This is a seizure order. As we speak, the New York City Sheriff's Office is reportedly preparing to serve foreclosure notices on some of the most iconic properties in the Trump portfolio. We're talking about 40 Wall Street. We're talking about Trump Tower commercial spaces. We're arguably talking about the private jet. Why now? Why when he's sitting in the Oval Office? Because the financial contagion from yesterday's Japan bond crash has claimed its first high-profile victim, the bonding agency that was securing Trump's massive civil fraud appeal. The liquidity crisis in Tokyo caused a margin call in New York. The insurer pulled the bond. Trump, cash-strapped from the campaign and ongoing legal wars, couldn't replace it in the 24-hour emergency window given by the court. The stay is lifted. The shield is down. For the first time in American history, a sitting president is facing the active liquidation of his private business empire by a hostile state government. The Secret Service is currently in a standoff with local law enforcement regarding access to these buildings. The White House counsel is screaming for the Supreme Court to intervene, and the president is reportedly apoplectic, threatening to federalize the National Guard to protect his property. We are watching the collision of capitalism, the Constitution, and the crash. The dam finally breaks. To understand why the sheriff is moving today, we have to understand the financial plumbing that failed last night. Remember the $464 million civil fraud judgment from 2024? The one brought by Letitia James? Trump appealed it. To stop the seizure of his assets while the appeal played out, he had to post a bond. A surety company stepped in, vouched for him, and put up the guarantee. For 2 years, that bond held. It was the dam holding back the floodwaters. But yesterday, the global financial system shook. The Japanese bond market crashed. The yen carry trade unwound. Trillions of dollars in liquidity evaporated from the global banking system in hours. According to leaked reports from the Wall Street Journal, the reinsurance consortium backing Trump's appeal bond was heavily exposed to Japanese commercial debt. When Tokyo collapsed, their balance sheet imploded late Friday night. Regulators or the company's own risk committee forced a de-risking event. They informed the New York court that they could no longer secure the Trump judgment. They withdrew the bond. Usually a defendant gets 30 days to find a new bond. But this is New York. This is Letitia James. And this is a judge who has lost all patience. The court ruled that given the precarious nature of the defendant's liquidity and the global financial instability, no grace period would be granted. The logic was brutal. If the president is truly worth billions, he can write a check. If he can't write a check, then the assets must be secured now before they lose value in the crashing market. The order was signed at 9 a.m. immediate seizure. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, effectively got a margin call on his life's work, and he couldn't meet it. What gets taken? Letitia James doesn't want the golf courses. They're hard to sell, losing money, and full of legal complications. She wants the cash flow. She wants the trophy assets. Target 1. 40 Wall Street. This is the crown jewel of the liquidation list. It's a massive skyscraper in the financial district. But here's the catch. Trump doesn't own the land. He owns the ground lease. Taking 40 Wall Street hits Trump where it hurts. His identity as a New York mogul. It's valuable, relatively liquid, and symbolic. Target 2. Trump Tower commercial and retail. Not the penthouse yet. The bottom floors. The Gucci store. The atrium. The office space. The sheriff can appoint a receiver, a court-appointed CEO who takes over the building. Imagine a bureaucrat appointed by a Democratic Attorney General walking into Trump Tower, firing the Trump Organization management, and redirecting all the rent checks from the tenants directly to the state of New York. The president would still own it on paper, But he'd lose control, he'd lose the cash flow, he'd be a tenant in his own building. Target 3, the Seven Springs Estate. This is the property in Westchester that was at the heart of the fraud case. Inflated valuations. It's low-hanging fruit. It's not his home. It's an investment property. Seizing it is clean. Target 4, the bank accounts. This is the most immediate threat. The sheriff can send a levy to every bank in New York. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, all of them. Any account with the name Trump Organization gets frozen. The money is siphoned out to pay the judgment. If this happens on a Monday morning payroll run, Trump Organization employees don't get paid. The maids at the hotels, the doormen, the executives, checks bounce. That's how you kill a company in 24 hours. Constitutional crisis at the revolving doors. This is where the situation moves from financial crisis to constitutional crisis. Trump Tower is not just an office building. It's the private residence of the President of the United States. It's a fortress. The Secret Service controls the perimeter, they control the elevators, they control the airspace. The Sheriff of New York City is a law enforcement officer. He has a court order signed by a judge commanding him to enter the premises and inventory assets. So what happens when the sheriff walks up to the revolving doors on Fifth Avenue? The scenario: the sheriff approaches. The Secret Service agent stands in the way. Sir, you cannot enter. This is a secure zone protecting the National Command Authority. The sheriff says, I have a warrant to seize this property. The agent says, federal law supersedes state law. For security reasons, access is denied. This is a standoff. Guns are present. Egos are massive. The Attorney General anticipates this. That's why they're likely targeting the commercial entities first. You don't need to go into the penthouse to seize the bank accounts of the LLC that owns the penthouse. But the optics? Imagine the news footage of New York State officials pasting seized stickers on the windows of the Gucci store in the lobby of the president's home. It's a humiliation ritual, and it's designed to provoke a reaction. The nuclear response sources inside the White House describe the mood as nuclear. Remember, Trump views his net worth as his soul. He views his buildings as his children. To him, this is not a legal dispute, it's a personal violation. He's reportedly on the phone with his Attorney General, demanding that the DOJ intervene. He wants the Department of Justice to file an emergency injunction in federal court, arguing that a sitting president is immune from civil asset seizure. This is a novel legal theory. The Supreme Court ruled in Clinton v. Jones that a president can be sued civilly. But can he be evicted? Can his business be liquidated while he's trying to run the country? The argument will be distraction. Your Honor, the president cannot negotiate the Greenland Treaty or solve the Japan crisis if he's worried about his furniture being auctioned off on eBay. This is an undue burden on the executive branch. It's the unitary executive theory taken to its financial limit. He's arguing that his wallet and the national treasury are functionally linked because his attention is a national asset. But the Japan crisis makes this argument weaker. The public is seeing their 401ks drop. They're seeing inflation spike. If the president says, stop everything and save my golf course, the political optics are suicidal. The impossible bailout. Usually, when a billionaire gets in a liquidity crunch, he makes a phone call. He calls a Saudi prince. He calls a Wall Street friend. He calls a hedge fund. Loan me $500 million for 6 months. I'm good for it. But today is Saturday, January 24th, 2026. The markets are broken. The Japanese banks are pulling cash home. The American banks are terrified of regulatory blowback and the crashing bond market. The Saudi piggy bank might not be there because oil prices are volatile due to recession fears. Donald Trump is toxic collateral. Who wants to lend $500 million to a president who's at war with the courts, whose assets are being seized, and who might be impeached if the midterms go badly? The risk premium is too high. This is why the immediate seizure order is so deadly. The judge knows Trump is illiquid. The judge knows the Japan shock froze the credit markets. They struck at the exact moment of maximum vulnerability. It's a coordinated financial decapitation strike. How this plays politically. The MAGA base. They see this as theft. They see this as communism. They're stealing his buildings. Expect rallies outside Trump Tower. Expect donations to the Legal Defense Fund to spike. although $464 million is hard to raise from $50 donations. This solidifies the narrative that the system is trying to destroy him. The independents? This is the danger zone. Americans like winners. There's a psychology to wealth. Part of Trump's appeal was, I'm rich, I can't be bought. If he's broke, if his buildings are seized, if he's viewed as a deadbeat, the aura of competence shatters. He can't even manage his own bond. How can he manage the economy? The donors, the big money, the guys who backed him in 2024 are gone. They see the asset seizure as the final straw. They don't want their names attached to a sinking ship. The invisible primary for 2028 starts today. DeSantis, Vance, and others are watching this and thinking, he's done, he's financially ruined and politically toxic. It's time to move on. The Supreme Court endgame. This ends at the Supreme Court. Trump's team will file an emergency stay request. Then the Trump court, the 6-3 conservative majority, has to decide. Do they step in? Do they issue a ruling saying state courts cannot seize the assets of a sitting president? If they do, they look like partisan hacks protecting their patron. The legitimacy of the court, already hanging by a thread, snaps. If they don't, they let the leader of their party be humiliated and potentially bankrupted. It's the ultimate test. And remember, they read the polls too. They see the wipeout numbers. They might decide that Trump is a liability. They might decide to let New York have him. The apocalypse? We are witnessing the final act of the Trump business story. Whether he saves the buildings or not, the damage is done. The veil of invincibility is pierced. The billionaire is being treated like a foreclosure victim. As we head into Sunday, watch the feeds. Watch for the receiver to be appointed. Watch for the bank levy notices. Watch for the Truth Social storm. But most importantly, watch the Japanese markets when they open Sunday night, US time. If the financial crash continues, Trump's personal problems will become the least of our worries. But for one man sitting in the White House, watching his name being ripped off the facades of his life's work, this is the apocalypse. Trump's empire is under siege. And this time, the walls are actually being breached.